What was the craziest reason a teacher at your school got fired? In high school, our PE teacher took us canoeing. Instead of checking the weather, he brought 15 freshmen into the channel our school was on. A severe thunderstorm hit, and our teacher paddled safely back to school and left us teens in the water. We tied our canoes together and rowed back to school, but we were drenched and super late. Our teacher was just standing on the dock, not a care in the world. He got fired like 2 days later. Something like this happened in my country. The outcome was just a bit worse. Some of the students got permanent brain damage because of how long they were exposed to the ice-cold water. Edit. Found a wiki page about the accident. I forgot about the teacher that died. Web link. Similar story in my hometown, except 4 kids died. It was a huge news story nationally for a couple of days. Years later, I discovered that someone I was friends with was there, but he hated talking about it. He got fired like 2 days later. Good. Our high school art teacher got fired after someone found an old YouTube video of him painting with his ass cheeks. We held a protest to try to keep him around, but they fired him anyway. Pablo Picasso? There's a great Malcolm in the Middle opening where Reese is by himself in the house and breaks a framed thrift store painting in the living room. He goes over to patch it up, in a corner that the frame covers is exposed with Picasso's signature. Reese reads it aloud as Pick-ass ow, giggles to himself, and then puts the frame back on, re-hiding the means to escape their financial troubles. This is so hilarious and random at the same time. Threw a chair across the classroom, hitting a student in the process. I think she was going through a divorce or something, but it was talk of the town throughout the whole week. We never saw her again after that. She thinks she's starring in F***ing Whiplash or something. She posted nudes on her public Facebook profile. Power move. He was caught putting a camera under the girls' swimming changing room door. Year 6, grade 5, edit. This was about 6 years ago. Don't know what happened to him after he was fired. Effer was sick. A professor at my college was placed on administrative leave because he was charged with participating in the Rwandan genocide, and was deported shortly after. He ended up being found not guilty, although I think he's still in a Rwandan prison for denying that the genocide happened. Edit. To be more clear, his opinion was that the genocide was not a genocide, and that it was a civil war in which the Hutu were victimized as much as, if not more than, the Tutsi. Wait. So he was both accused of participating in it and then sentenced for saying it never happened to begin with? Effing wild. Maybe he was accused of being in it, so his defense was that he couldn't have been in it because it never happened. Classic checkmate. Judge, did you kill that girl? Man, what girl? Your Honor, girls don't exist. How the F do you deny that the Rwandan genocide happened? Like, I think we've all seen footage. So there are people who also deny the Holocaust. People just suck. Plenty of footage on that one too, yet they can still deny it. People deny that the earth is round. I'm pretty sure there are tons of evidences that it is. Shop teacher got a sophomore pregnant. Same thing happened when I was in middle school, except the girl was 13. Gross. I was at a Catholic school and one teacher got fired because he remarried after a divorce. Bruh. Fun fact. In the eyes of the Catholic Church, once married, always married, even if you legally get divorced. My aunt and uncle had to petition the Pope, I'm sure not actually the Pope, but, yeah, church bigwigs, and prove that her previous marriage ended due to abuse in order for it to be annulled by the church. They had divorced legally years prior. Also that my aunt and uncle could get married in the Catholic Church. If the divorce isn't annulled by the church, any new marriage is considered polygamy. This was probably in the early 80s. When my aunt and uncle got married in the early 50s, my aunt had to get a letter from the bishop saying that it was okay that her best friend who wasn't Catholic be her maid of honor. My mother tried to get an annulment and the priest solicited a bribe. Sent a porn link instead of Google form by email. Many students then commented on the video with a lot of great jokes, funny times. Took one for the team. Sounds like you saw the same video. Yeah, I knew one that posted boobs to their course Canvas page and then claimed it wasn't him. There was an IT investigation after they were instantly suspended from teaching. It was him. And he got fired. I work in IT. My advice to teachers out there: have a separate computer you use for all school stuff, and never ever do anything personal on it. You'll never have that bad link in your clipboard. A history teacher I had in high school gave us a lot of random documentary/movie days, during which she would just sit in the back at her desk drinking tea. The year after I graduated, she had a movie day, and when the film ended she didn't get up or do anything but sit there, eyes closed. Fearing the worst, some students went to the office and brought an administrator down who found she was passed out drunk. They found bottles in her desk. Oh God, I was expecting this to end like my drama teacher. He died in his classroom reading. Students found his body the next morning. I went to HS in the early 80s in a tiny rural Appalachian town 35 miles from the closest traffic light. We had classes that taught auto mechanics. One that taught carpentry, had a motorcycle riding class and a rifle shooting class, and classes for welding and machine shop with lathes and milling machines, etc. The teacher of the machine shop got arrested for making silencers for the mafia. And half the stuff he had us making as class projects on the lathes and milling machines was items he used in making them. I'm from a town like that. Only we had one stoplight in the county. It was on wheels, so you could move it to different places that needed it different times of the year. Officer: Sir, I pulled you over because you ran a red light. Driver looks back: Are you sure about that, officer? Officer looks back, sees traffic light being wheeled away. Oh God dang it, not again. I'm imagining the cartoon squeaky wheel sound fading as someone absconds with the light and I'm dying. That's genius. Free child labor, and the police must have been looking for a much larger operation. I bet they never suspected the production was being done on the state's money. Well, they arrested him, so obviously they suspected something. Laughing out loud. Might have been fallout from another bust. If someone needed to give up someone else to lower their sentence, the high school teacher is probably less likely to try and get even with you than some other elements of organized crime would be. Walter White has entered the chat. You're goddamn right. A teacher called one of his students and drunk confessed his obsessive love to her, on voicemail, promising to leave his new wife and baby for her. Not only is that messed up to the extreme, it seems so weird. Cussing out a student. It was a librarian at an elementary school. Bet that student got an expanded vocabulary after that. A student teacher who was coaching cheer gave a girl pain meds, narcotic, without a prescription or permission from parents. She got fired. Never heard if she managed to get a teaching license after that. Edit: just to clarify, giving meds is usually not allowed because it's a liability issue. Everyone is perfectly allowed to bring their own pain meds that are over the counter or prescribed to them and take them, but the school can't dispense them. Also, the real issue here is that the pain meds were not over the counter and they were prescribed to the student teacher, not the cheerleader. It's pretty uncool to give a kid opioids without permission. I remember a day where I got my braces tightened and asking a friend for a Tylenol. I guess my science teacher overheard because he gave me one, but he made me promise not to tell anybody. Don't know what would have happened if I told someone my science teacher gave me a pill. Yeah, it's really weird. They did this in my school too. If you needed Tylenol, they sent you to the nurse. They wouldn't let you use your own or give out cough drops. One time one of my teachers literally went off on a kid when he was handing out cough drops. It feels so surreal now, laughing out loud. Wow, this brings back memories of my HS years. I would sneak Advil I had tucked away in my backpack when I had really bad cramps and always worried I'd get in trouble for it. Surreal is definitely the right word. Our AP Calculus teacher in high school had a mental break, ranted for an entire class period about some nonsense, then drank an entire bottle of salsa, stormed out and never came back. They had a substitute for the rest of the semester, which was unfortunate since the sub wasn't a calculus teacher, so they were at a disadvantage for the AP test. An entire bottle of salsa? Like a party bottle of El Paso medium salsa. This is so specific, I can visualize it perfectly. It's stuck in my head on loop now. Cheers. Long story short, my French teacher was effing the lunch lady in school property. Maybe he was just thanking her for her delicious mashed potatoes? Well, he sure smashed hers. It's a problem because he was doing it in front of the tots. Loud screaming from mental pain. He threw pencils at students. One day he threw a chair at a girl who annoyed him. Serious anger management issues. And then they found the child porn on his computer at school. Rumor was that he had also been grooming one of the student aides. I haven't heard a thing about him since the year he disappeared. Was this in rural Michigan? This was in the South, but the fact that it may also have happened elsewhere makes me uncomfortable. The principal, all right, I'm going to head out. My middle school history teacher, Mr. Lewis, used to invite me and some of my friends, all girls, into his room before classes. Since otherwise we had to stay in the incredibly cramped hallway, this was desirable, especially when he let us play with Cleverbot on his desktop. Mr. Lewis was pretty weird. He only ever wore velvet suits with pocket squares, and sometimes he'd randomly start crying in the middle of class. Weirdest of all, he'd make us listen to his love poetry, dedicated to his dead wife, who we later learned did not and had not existed. In retrospect, that love poetry was definitely for us. Specifically, it was for one of us, my friend Ruth, who looked notably younger than your average 12-year-old. He'd always ask her to write notes on the blackboard and stare at her while she did it. The rest of us noticed Ruth was Mr. Lewis' favorite, but it didn't strike us as that weird. Well, one day, it was only Ruth who got to school early, the rest of us didn't come until later. She went into Mr. Lewis' room, and I guess he tried something. Luckily I don't think it got very far. He was put on leave. They brought him back a year later. Fun. That man needs some serious help. He wrote poetry for a bunch of young girls? That's some effed up stuff. Notably younger than 12 years old? Our teacher was a chronic liar and lied about having a master's and a degree. Funny thing is, she actually did have a relevant degree that would have got her the job. Other lies include dating Brad Pitt, being an ex-gang member, and even being a multimillionaire but just enjoying teaching. I have some strong déjà vu from this comment. I swear I've seen it before. Well, it is about chronic liars. I'm looking at you, Op. In high school, a friend and I did some research and discovered that the principal's degree was issued by a university that didn't exist. The address we were able to find of it was nothing but a mailbox. That principal is still working as far as I know. Is that principal related to Jeff Winger? His name was Principal Principalson. 25 years ago at my all-boys Catholic high school, a priest was accused, caught molesting a student. Of course, this wasn't a firing offense for a priest back then, it was just hushed up. The guy was creepy as hell. Earlier this year I read about him in the paper, a fresh round of allegations. He was allowed to keep on going for another 25 freaking years. You write Catholic priest and you instantly know what it's going to be about. The Catholic priest stereotype is one stereotype I wish wouldn't keep continually proving itself to be true. Back when I was in high school, I had a history teacher who looked like Santa Claus and for the most part was a cool and funny dude. He made jokes most of the class and kept it pretty entertaining while still being informative. Well, one day there was this tall curly-haired 9th grade kid who was being loud and obnoxious in the hall, and so Santa teacher went out and asked him to stop as the kid was disrupting his class. Kid didn't listen, so he stepped out of the class and asked him nicely to stop talking so loud in the hallway. Now, I'm not exactly sure what the kid said to him, but whatever it was caused my teacher to lose it and punched the kid right in the eye and held him against the locker like the stereotypical bully does to the nerd in TV shows and movies. Kid ended up with a black eye and broken nose, and my history teacher was soon fired after that. Turns out my teacher had a bit of a mean streak that popped up every blue moon. Apparently, he almost fought a bus driver who was about to lead a student who was running late from their last class. Edit. For anyone curious, here's a news article about it. Edit 2. Oh well, thanks for the awards, kind strangers, you're awesome. Web link. I mean, I think this is just me, but I think the bus driver kind of deserved it. Oh, absolutely. If memory serves me right, in the attempt to leave, my teacher held the door to the bus open and wouldn't budge until the kid got to the bus. The bus driver proceeded to ask him, "And who are you to hold my bus from leaving?" And my teacher replied, "I'm Richard effing Haywood, who the F are you?" The bus driver got up to get in his face, but the kid showed up a few seconds later, so nothing else happened after that. His name was Richard effing Haywood. Richard Haymaker. Sounds like he'd be great to have on your side or as a friend, but maybe not the best watching children. Thank you for watching. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube. And share them with your friends. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. We welcome your comments below. Another of our videos will begin shortly.